Hello, I'm Ben from the Bonehead Podcast, and welcome to the Bonehead Dungeon Bowl Championship. Dungeon Bowl takes the carnage of Blood Bowl and places it underground in a dungeon. And there's wizards, and there's teleporters, and there's treasure chests, and there's explosions. It is a great alternative way to play Blood Bowl. And there's also 8 specific Dungeon Bowl teams, and in the Bonehead Dungeon Bowl Championship, we are running all 8 of those through 7 games, 7 knockout rounds to find the very first Bonehead Dungeon Bowl Championship. Now, today we are going to be doing the match preview for our second semi-final. This is our penultimate game, so after this, one of these 2 teams will be progressing through to the final game, which is actually pretty exciting. So I'm not going to spoil the last semi-final, and technically I'm not going to spoil the first or third game, so if you haven't seen those, you can go back and watch them. But I am going to spoil Game 2 and Game 4, because in Game 2 we saw the College of Life beat the College of Light and progress to this here game. And in Round 4, Shadow squeaked past Death to bring it as well. So in this matchup, we've got the College of Life with War Dancers, and we've got the College of Shadows featuring War Dancer models pretending to be Witch Elves. And today what we're going to do is we're going to talk through the rosters, we're going to talk through the wizards, we're going to talk through the dungeon, the coaches, the matchup, and of course, the Viewer Championship. Okay, so first up is the College of Shadow, and this team has been built and put together from the teams we used in the first Bonehead Championship. So we've got 2 Skaven Blitzers, and both of them have been upgraded with Guard. So this is kind of the best way to get some kind of combat power to the pitch in the College of Shadow. We've got 1 Skaven Thrower, because let's face it, it's the best thrower in the game. We've got 4 Gutter Runners, and one of them has been upgraded with the 2 Heads ability, so we've kind of built our own Hackflem here. We've got 2 Witch Elves, both have been upgraded with Block. Now, the models we're using for this game are War Dancers, so you're just going to have to imagine that they're Witch Elves, but given that they all have Blodge anyway, I think it's going to be universally hated. We've got 3 Goblins rounding out the roster and 2 rerolls. So this is a demonstration that you can take a lot of the teams you already have, put them together to represent a Dungeon Bowl team without too much difficulty. This roster does not have a lot of bash power at all. We've got those Blitzers with the Guard, which should combo nicely with the Witch Elves with Frenzy and Block, but that's really the best they've got. What this roster does have is 4 Movement 9 Edge 2+ pieces, 2 Edge 2+ Witch Elves with Dodge, that's 6 Dodge pieces, and then 3 Goblins who also have Dodge. So a lot of sneaky, stealthy plays here from the College of Shadows. College of Life team has been lovingly put together by Ian Warhammer. We've got 2 Treemen made from Kurnoth Hunter Age of Sigmar kits. One of them has received the team's secondary upgrade, which gives him Block. The other one has taken a regular upgrade and got Brawler. So 2 combat heavy Treemen there. 1 Wood Elf Thrower, who is arguably also a very good thrower in the game. We've got 2 actual War Dancers here. One's been upgraded with Sidestep and one's been upgraded with Tackle, which against 7, 8, whatever it is, Dodge players on the other side could be an incredibly useful player. 2 Wood Elf Linemen, 2 Snotling Linemen, 2 Halfling Linemen. One of them has received Diving Tackle, which again could be really useful against a dodge heavy team. The Fungus Flinger, who is just a very cheap Bombardier, is incredibly useful in Dungeon Bowl. And a random Halfling Catcher, along with 3 rerolls, caps this roster. 3 rerolls, 13 players, 2 Treemen, 2 War Dancers, and a ton of dodgy shenanigans. Okay, so on to the wizards. The College of Shadow Wizard is, I think, really good, and really helps this team overcome one of the biggest hurdles, which is getting through hurdles. So the College of Shadow Wizard, at the start of your player as the College of Shadows, pick a player on your team who does not have the ball. So, can't have the ball. And then teleport them 5 squares. Just literally remove them and replace them within 5 squares worth of distance. Now, for the rules of this event, that is going to be 5 movement squares of tracking, so you can't take them up and bamf them through a void of no squares. So that's how we're playing that. But this is a huge boon to this college. Not only can you bamf a guy 5 squares away and then start the turn by having a block, but also this can be a really great way to pop your player, for example a gutter runner, the other side of your opponent's defensive line, and then use that awesome Skaven thrower to throw the ball right there and then run it in for the touchdown. And the College of Life wizard can be very useful as well. So at the start of their turn, your opponent's turn this is, you pick one of their players and that player cannot be activated this turn. They don't have tackle zones either until their next activation. So essentially what happens is at the start of your opponent's turn, as the Wizard of Life, you pick a guy and essentially they bonehead. That's it. So this can be incredibly useful if you've got a defensive player right in the way, if they've got an offensive threat who's ready to score, or just the ball carrier for a turn. Bam. They bonehead. They cannot activate. They cannot do anything. They don't assist. If they've got guard, they don't matter. You can walk straight past them. So it can be very annoying for your opponent, and it can be an absolute game saver. If they're ready to score, you buy yourself another turn. If they've got one defender left to beat, game over. Now, as the designer of this team, we've dragged Ian Warhammer back on to continue his rampage with the Life team. And naturally, as we've got a team with Skaven in, I'm going to be running the Skaven. So me and Ian have a somewhat historic rivalry. He's been on the channel many times, so you guys know that he can play himself some Blood Bowl. Ian also took this very team to the Dorset Dungeon Bowl, and what did he finish? Maybe 2-1 or something like that? Really good, really fun team. So let's talk through the matchup. Now we've got our lovely portraits up here. This is an interesting one. The College of Life, with the exception of having those two treemen, is normally the dash team. They don't have a lot of strength here. But against the College of Shadows, they actually do. College of Shadows has got the two blitzers, the two dark elves, and the thrower. Everything else is strength 2. Now, the College of Life has got a load of halflings and snotlings who are low strength, but every one of those wood elves are actually a bit of a brawler when it comes to facing the Shadow team, and that tackle player is going to be absolutely massive. And the really interesting thing here is that both of these teams have got a super quick scoring potential. We've got Wood Elves, who quite frankly at movement 7 adds 2+, pretty great anyway, but War Dancers, right, who can leap around, and they've got Blodge, and then there's Snotlings who can just, most of the time, just 2+ their way through anything. There's Halflings on there as well with Dodge and Stunty, so again, going to be pretty effective at dodging around. And then, of course, my team has got 4 Gutter Runners. One of them is pretending to be Hackblem with those extra heads, and we've also got Goblins who can dodge around, and Witch Elves who can dodge around too. So this could be a bit of a dance of a game, because at some point one of these teams is going to get the opportunity to break through, and it's going to be down to both of us to try and do as much as we can to murder the other team to get that advantage. If the ball is late to the matchup, then we might see the College of Life press on with their strength advantage, but then again, Shadows might be able to combo those blitzers with guard and those witch elves with blodge to just kind of, well, with blodge and frenzy to just try and absolutely pound away. Low armor everywhere, so this could be a bit of a bloodbath, but with movement 8, movement 9, edge 2+ dodge players on both teams, it could be a cheeky corner run for the win. So the dungeon is slightly different this round as well. We're doing it in the same way that we did with the Dorset Dungeon Bowl, which is Dungeon 1 for the first round and the third round, and Dungeon 2 for rounds 2. So the whole idea is you come back and play on the original dungeon with what you've learned from the first and second games. And the second game is a slightly different variant. So the first round has got 3 paths. This one has got 4 paths. So we're going to see both teams here actually able to use that speed. They've both got movement 7, movement 8, or potentially movement 9 players on these rosters. So with the starting spot, we can see them actually dash up and able to sprint and get representatives in each of the 4 corridors. Now a slower team might struggle to spread out and might just have to bin off one of those corridors. These teams here will be able to quickly spread around the dungeon. Now when we're talking about spreading things around the dungeon, the teleporters are both sets are kind of clustered in opposite corners to the starting rooms, so when a player is brought in, they can find themselves actually right at the other end of the action, which helps a little bit. But also when we're looking at a matchup with these two kinds of speed teams, even if my gutter runner arrives up here, it's not going to take long for him to be back exactly where I need him to be, and that's the strength of the speed teams. And in a situation like this with this dungeon, it's a really big boon. Now, where it's a bit of a mirror match, we're going to see actually if a War Dancer comes in up here and the action's going on here, it will not take long to get there either. From a defensive point of view, we still got 3 main entrances to the touchdown zone. There's a couple less squares in this one, so it's slightly easier to defend if you've got some big brutes. Ian, with the College of Life, has got 2 treemen, so I would imagine we're going to see Ian put some goalies around the entrances to this room, but treemen really doesn't matter when you've got a 1+ dodge gutter runner, does it? Okay, so on to our viewer championship. We are saying every single game you get a guess to choose which team wins, and if you get it right you get a point, and at the end of the season the top 20 or so players with the most points will win some Bonehead Dungeon Bowl Championship loot. So this is something I absolutely have really enjoyed doing throughout the season. The predictions for the last round between the Colleges of Metal and Heavens, I will not say which team won, and I will not say how accurate you were, but 60% of the votes went to the Heavens team and 40% went to the Metal team. So if Heavens won, you did a good job. If they didn't, then you didn't. But it's interesting to see how the guesses have been going throughout this entire series. Now, what we're going to do now, most importantly, is have a look at who is in the top spot so far. And in first place with 5 points. Now, we've still got 2 games to go, so there are a ton of players who have got potential to catch up there. We've got Alexander Padberg, we've got Antonio Jimenez, ATK Monkey, Ben Middleton, Blue Max, Branarama, DMD, Christian Cartmail, Dwayne Braswell, Emmanuel Biesi, Jandia Coldheart, Jazz666, Jeremy Cofoot, Lars Brondum, Mr. Human, Nicholas Dunlop, Pat Paints, Private Public, Sergio Roma, Stevie126, Tim Bunnage, and Xavier26 there, all sitting at 5 points. Now, there are a ton of coaches here with 3 points and 4 points as well, and with 2 games to go there is plenty of opportunity to get up there into the top spot, and it's great to see some regular names in there as well, and it's so good to see everybody. We get like 180 or something guesses each game, which is so much fun, especially as I now have an exporter to kind of search through and enter it up for me. So yes, get your votes in now, and the full leaderboard will be slapped on the end of the video as ever. Okay, we've talked through the colleges, we've talked through the coaches, we've talked through the wizards, we've talked through the dungeon layout, we've talked through the viewer championship. All that's left to do is get your guesses in now and wait till Saturday for the Patreons, Sunday for everybody else, to find out who's actually going to be in the Dungeon Bowl Championship. And we've got a couple of very cool surprises lined up for the final, but you're going to have to wait at least a week to find out what that is. But for now, get your guesses in, and we'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy dungeoneering! Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to help support the channel even further, please like and subscribe, or come join us on our Patreon. We have early access to content, we get loads of feedback from you guys, and we try and do competitions as much as we can. Or you can get yourself some Bonehead Podcast merch on our Spreadshirt site. So if you want to support a team, especially for the Bonehead Championship, you can pick up a shirt, a mug, things like that. It all helps support the channel, and we really appreciate it. Anyway, links below. Thank you very much. Happy blocking.